All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the main topic here on the podcast. So, I got a DM from I got DMs from a few different people in the media space. I think because I have the TNA podcast, that people think that maybe I have some inside knowledge. I just want to put it out there that whenever I'm doing my podcast and I'm riffing and I'm doing my videos and stuff like that, I don't have like inside scoops. I don't have inside sources. I have some friends that do, but I let them break their own stories. But I don't really have any inside knowledge on what's going on in TNA. So JD, if you're not up to speed, TNA basically gutted their live events department, their marketing department, and they fired their television director, Dave Sahadi. So they fired Dave Sahadi. They fired Lou D'Angeli. R.D. Evans, one of the members of the creative team, has quit. This was last Friday, and this stuff happened over the weekend. So I did Brace for Impact over the weekend, and on my video I put out, and I very clearly said I was theorizing here, but I did run my theory by a pretty prominent member of the wrestling media, who is really in the know with TNA. And he said, man, I think he didn't really say exactly this, but it's something to the effect of, he goes, I think that might be what's happening. And so my theory is they gutted the live events and they gutted the TV director or the TV production because Invicta's got a TV deal. And Invicta is going to be running more and more live events. It looks like every 4 to 6 weeks, Invicta is going to be running. I get the feeling that they're doing kind of what WWE has been doing, and they're going to be realigning their mission statement with both companies. And basically, the production and the live events department is probably going to be one and the same. That is my theory. Now, there might be some people who are solely focused on Impact and some people solely focused on Invicta, but for the most part, they're all going to be working together because Invicta is not going to be running enough shows to warrant having their own live event staff. And so I think that's basically what they're doing. And if they did get a decent enough TV deal, which Invicta seems to be pretty excited about, it might warrant having a top-notch crew. That is just my theory. I also know for a fact that Josh Matthews was already doing a lot of the jobs that Dave Sahadi was doing. So, and I think my buddy BQ said something like that. So I think that, they probably already have people in-house that's doing some of that stuff. And so, with WWE and TNA working together right now and Jordan Grace being over there and looks like NXT members, looks like Brooks Jensen's coming over for a little bit. He's one of the young guys. Tatum Paxley, who I'm not sure is a real person, looks like she might be coming over. So there's going to be some back and forth between NXT and TNA. So that's been leading a lot of people to say that it looks like, to them, with the live events department being gutted, the TV director getting fired, R.D. Evans from the creative team leaving, it looks like maybe WWE is buying TNA. And guys, I'm telling you, that is not happening. WWE did not buy they did not buy TNA. There is no reason for them to buy TNA. In fact, I don't even think legally they can because they just merged with the UFC and they have all that stuff they got to get through. WWE is not even its own company right now. It is TKO. And TKO owns UFC and WWE. There is no reason for TKO to be buying TNA, to assume a bunch of debt and run a separate company. There is just no reason for it. It's not happening. That's not what this is.
No, it doesn't make any sense. If this was 5 years ago, okay, you might be onto something. WWE has completely changed their business model. They are no longer interested in acquiring libraries. Right, because that would have been the value of TNA, is that library. They don't care about those things anymore, right? Netflix just spent a ton of money on them, right? They're going to get the access to the library that's already on Peacock right now. And like studies have shown that there's a very small percentage of people who watch that old stuff. It's basically, if you're listening to the show, you're one of the few people that is interested in the archives. Like, they have determined that is not what they do anymore. They're a content provider. Right. Yeah. They're not a content company. There's no reason for them to buy another wrestling company and absorb it. Like, what do they get from adding? What does WWE, or let's be honest, what does TKO get from absorbing TNA?
They don't because they even if they got the tape library, they already have access to that tape library. TNA lets them use the videos. Mm-hmm. They've been using them for years. This is not a new thing.
That's true.
In fact, they did a table for three a few years ago with Jeff Jarrett, Sting, and AJ Styles, and it was about their time in TNA. And they did whole videos on the WWE network back in the day, like tribute to AJ Styles' greatest moments in TNA. Like they did stuff like that. So there really isn't a reason. And look, what was the lawsuit that UFC just settled recently with the fighters? It's an antitrust lawsuit and anti-competitive behavior. And the reason why they had that lawsuit is because the UFC was buying up Strikeforce and bought up WEC and removing their competition so that way it would to keep fighter pay down. And that was the big lawsuit. And they settled for hundreds of millions of dollars. It would be completely, utterly, preposterously stupid for TKO to buy a company like TNA, a small company, not get much out of it, and open themselves up to a potential antitrust lawsuit in the future.
Especially when they settled with MLW for the same thing recently. I forgot about the UFC thing you brought up. But yeah, MLW, and they said they had a case. The judge thought there was a case there. And very quickly, we'll put this way, court's been spending lately, so they got a nice settlement. It's not hard to see that. So why would you want to appear to be anti-competition? Why would you buy anything? And I said, there's just no reason for them to buy stuff anymore. There's just no reason for them to absorb other companies. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes more sense for them to sell off some of the old libraries that they have, because they're not really like, it's going to be on Netflix, but other than like a few of us, like, and I still go on Peacock from time to time, and I'll watch I'll watch Mid-Atlantic Wrestling from 1982, Sergeant Slaughter and Ricky Steamboat as a young guy. And I'll watch some of that stuff, but I don't think that many people are watching it. In fact, I think if they sold a library, there's probably people can make money just putting those videos on YouTube and just getting ad revenue from it versus just having it on Netflix. I think there's something to that, but it makes no sense. And Mike Johnson had a report earlier this week. I don't know which day, but he put some more gas on the fire of TNA possibly moving to a fixed studio location, and possibly even going live every week. I think that's the future state of TNA. They gutted the live events department. I think it's a possibility. It's because they're not going to be touring as much anymore. I think they're probably just going to go back to a studio, which is smart, because if you look at the TV tapings they just had in Cincinnati, it's 200 people in a bar sitting on their hands. What you could have, you can go back to the Impact Zone in Orlando or Full Sail in Orlando, or you can go to Vegas or whatever you want to do. I think that makes much more sense for them than for them to go touring. Now, I think they should still tour for the pay-per-views and their bigger shows. I think they should go to their Cicero stadiums and stuff. They still do well in those locations, but whenever they couple their events with TV tapings, they run back-to-back nights, the second night never does very good, because they're just not a powerful enough brand to be able to get people to come back 2 nights in a row. So I think it makes all the sense in the world for them to go back to a studio.
Right. Remember, they let Scott go because he was spending too much. Right. Yeah. That was the ultimate thing, is spending too much money. They're consolidating. There's not a lot of profitability in TNA. Let's be honest. It just isn't. So it makes sense to cut things back. Why have 2 TV staffs? Right.
Yeah.
Especially when the one you have isn't doing a very good job. So,
yeah. Everybody wants to cry about Dave Sahadi getting fired, but I was like, I've been telling them to fire him for years. and maybe it wasn't all his fault. And I know the guy wasn't working with a very good budget, and he was working for every time they go to a new town, they're using a different crew, and they probably have some guys that are volunteers, not exactly trained. And he's probably old and tired by now. Guy's in his 60s, and I understand that, because I'm 41 and I feel old and tired all the time. But I just did not feel like the production was up to par. Lou D'Angeli, however, has done the best job that I've seen anybody do in that company since I started covering it back in 2019, as far as live events. And in fact, they're about to break their Anthem record with the event coming up in Montreal. It's already their biggest on sale, their biggest pre-sale that they've done in 10 years. They could possibly get me in a Big Con t-shirt. That's how well that bastard's doing.
Yeah, but if you're not going to tour that much, what's the point of having a tour guy?
Exactly. If you're not touring for every single taping, there's just no reason to do it. But if you're going to be at a fixed location and you'll tour around for different shows, you can hire a team locally to promote your show locally. You don't have to actually have the same staff to do it all the time,
I saw someone in the chat say that they're going to be looking at the place maybe in Full Sail where WWE used to tape NXT. I think that'd be real smart, because what you also have there is you can have access to the students, and the Full Sail students are going to be better than whoever. Full Sail is not TV. Full Sail is not aligned with WWE anymore. So that actually ended in the pandemic. that ended the pandemic. And I think that would be a great, speaking as a guy who, this is what I do for a living. I teach kids how to work with cameras and stuff like that. Having that kind of experience for your students would be invaluable. Having that resource, because you have students, but the people at Full Sail University are going to be way better than the guys they have shooting right now, right? You have people that are going to be professionals, and Full Sail does do a pretty good job of staffing their people, of finding jobs. Because like when you work in production, the vast majority of jobs are freelance. Was my life for 20 years. Like you work freelance. You take a job here, you take a job there, blah, 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 blah. Like, so they do a good job from what I've been told of having their alums work in that world. So you're going to have access to kids that are pretty good, right? Yeah. That's what TNA should do right now. They should, and I hope they can make that work.
I hope so too, because not only will they save costs on production costs, they give them the opportunity to run live every week, but not only that, they'll save money on hotels and trans, because a lot of their talent already lives in Orlando. Because they typically hire people who get fired from WWE, and a lot of them have been living in Orlando for years.
A lot of wrestlers live in Orlando.
And tons of wrestlers just like to live in Florida anyway, because there's no state tax. And that's where WWE, like I know their headquarters is in Stamford, Connecticut, but let's be real. WWE headquarters is in Orlando. It's Orlando and Jeddah, right? And like they just happen to have an office building in Stamford, Connecticut. Jeddah. So it makes all the sense in the world to move to Orlando. I think Full Sail would probably be the best way to go. Dude, I was watching Jordan Grace. I have not seen NXT in a long time, right? So, but I watched last week and I saw Jordan Grace come out, and they got the PC is awesome. Like it's probably for like a small time show, one of the best places to hold a wrestling event, just because of the look of it. They got the big screens, the crowd's going crazy all the time, and their fans are super into it. And there's like not even 200 people there. But they're just crazy, rabid people, and they're just very into it, man. And it's just like almost like a perfect place for small-time studio wrestling.
Here's what's funny to me is people always say how hard it is to draw week after week in the same locale. WWE's been doing this with NXT for a decade now. Yeah. Right? They're the closest thing we have to like a territorial wrestling system is NXT. As far as like drawing the same people week in and week out. This is why we didn't shit on the idea of AEW running that esports arena in Texas later this year. Because if they can do that, if they can make that their own version of like the Performance Center or Full Sail, then they can have a control. Because we actually, Mike, I don't know, where did you find those documents? Were they not supposed to talk about that?
No, you can talk. I'm sure the flagship is talking about it, but they're on the VOW Discord.
Oh, is that where you got that from? I never hang out in the Discord. Yeah. So like Mike, we were going over like what AEW is paying to run Arlington, and it's a freaking steal. Like it's like steal.
14 grand a night.
14 grand. That's nothing. So like if you can figure out a way to make that a cool thing, and this is what WWE's done a really good job of, is they've made those NXT shows feel like going to Memphis. Right?
Yeah.
Or feel like those old time territory. And we don't give WWE enough credit for that. They have captured the feel of studio wrestling or center stage or Techwood back with WCW and NWA. Like they've done a really good job of capturing that vibe. Right. And I think that it would benefit AEW if they could do that with either their shows or if they ever figure out this Ring of Honor thing in a similar way. So yeah, if TNA can do the same kind of thing with Full Sail, like I think wrestling needs more small arena stuff and less giant basketball arena stuff, because it all starts looking the same after a while. Like say what you want about NXT, the show has a vibe that's totally different.
Yeah, and they've built a very loyal following there in Orlando. Well, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for us this week. JD and I are gonna take a little bit of a break, and then we're gonna head up Patreon to start the beginning of our new series, Who Killed WCW, where we recap the Vice series on Who Killed WCW.
Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, it was Eric. But we're still going to recap. We're still going to recap it. That's going to be exclusively for the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Ain't made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game. Better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Ain't made no rain from the track.